Welcome to another episode of the Unicorns podcast. I'm your host, Justin Kelly. Junior ASX lister Latrobe Magnesium made international headlines last year when it was included as one of only 7 ASX listed stocks in the $8.5 billion US Australia critical minerals deal announced last October. What caught the attention of the US Export-Import Bank is how the company, which trades under the code LMG, has developed a process to transform the Latrobe Valley's brown coal ash or waste into high-value magnesium metal, which is a critical mineral. Here to talk with me today about Latrobe Magnesium's latest achievements at its demonstration plant and its next steps to commercial production is the CEO, David Paterson. David, a very warm welcome to you. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Justin. Welcome to be here.
You are a chartered accountant and have a strong finance background. So how did you move from working in corporate advisory to turning brown coal waste into magnesium in the Latrobe Valley? That is quite the transition.
It may seem that way, but actually, when you're looking at advisory businesses in Australia, usually it's mining or property that you get involved in. And mining's been one that has been in my blood. My father was in the mineral sands business. It was a bit of a guru in the old days. And so I've had a number of clients in the advisory business that were involved in mining. One of them, who's my founding partner, who's no longer with us, had a magnesite mine. So he did a lot of work with Japan, the Japanese Toyota, for example, in looking at making magnesium. And Toyota was one of the first that really looked at magnesium. So knew a lot about magnesium. We came together initially as the two founding partners, and that's how we got involved.
So what's the story behind the company? How did the idea behind it actually come about, and how have you got to where you are now?
So one of the people I worked with was basically involved with the privatisation of Hazelwood Power Station, right, in the Latrobe Valley. And of course, the old SECV had actually drilled all the coal mines, so they knew exactly what was going into the power station, and they knew exactly what was coming out. And there was a good content of mag oxide, and they never really developed technology to process that waste. And that's where we got involved. He invited us to tender, both Kevin and I, to tender for the project. And we're up against Alcoa and a group of engineers, and we actually won it because we asked the right questions, which no one else did, which was a pretty important point because it basically reduced the amount of mag it could make by 50%. So we questioned it and their expert, and we were found to be correct. So we automatically got a bit of credence. Did help having a person on the board that was a CommBank representative as well.
I bet. Yes. So before we get into more about the company and the progress, can you, for the benefit of our listeners, explain what magnesium metal is used for and why is it classified as a critical mineral?
Okay, magnesium metal is a lightweighting metal. So if you look at where it's been traditionally used, it's been in steel, desulfurization of steel as a use, aluminium, aluminium cans, and recently aluminium sheet. Aluminium cans, when they first came out, you could rip them and they would squash quite easily.
I remember.
Yeah,
Yes.
and now they have 1.5 to 2% in the sides. And what that does is strengthen the sides and makes it lighter. So magnesium is 25% of the weight of steel, but 2 to 3 times stronger. It's a third of the weight of aluminium, but 2 to 3 times stronger. So when you're making aluminium sheet, aluminium sheet, you usually need about 5% magnesium alloy in that sheet. Otherwise, a bit like the old cans, they'd rip or they would dent very easily. Now, when you put that into use in products, what you're talking about are cars, transport, anything that wants to be lightweight, go further, go faster. You think about magnesium and the use of magnesium. So it's not it's transport plus it's so you think of ships, you think of trucks, you think of cars, and that's where the main uses are today. So when you're talking about defense and defense products, you talk about what's getting used in lightweighting the aircraft, what is getting used in the drones to lightweight the drones so they go further and farther, and they can be made bigger, so they've got more punch, and things even like the bunker bombs that they use
Mm.
in Tehran, that's made with magnesium because is a cold fusion process that made at Boeing's. It actually allows the bomb to go beneath the surface and not just explode at surface. So it goes beneath and then explodes, which makes it a lot better if you're having facilities put underneath the ground. So there's quite a lot of areas. You think of, in I always say Top Gun, where you've got aircrafts racing around and people trying to shoot them down. What do they put in the air? The flares, and that
Mm.
they're attracted to the missiles attracted to the flares. Well, what's in the flares is a magnesium compound. So it's it's atomized magnesium, and that attracts the missiles because it's metal.
You're an Australian maverick.
We are, mate. Back in Howard's era, they were trying to get all these magnesium boys up, but yeah, no, we're the only one it's up and operational. And the thing why you mentioned critical minerals, we are the only, and this is what the states looked at us. We're the only company in development in the world, in the Western world, right? Because basically, China produces 90% of of magnesium in the world because of this traditional steel business and aluminium business grew up, so they had to have mag with it. And of course, you've got Russia, and they've got around 6%. So all of a sudden, 96% of the world's supply is from non-Western sources. So you can see why the Western civilization's crying out for supply, especially the US, because they did have one supplier, very environmentally unfriendly supplier, and they closed it down. And that used to produce 50 to 60,000. So they got a void to fill.
Mm.
And that's, as I mentioned, with the market of magnesium, you've got probably 1.1 million tons made per annum, 1 million made in China, and 60 odd thousand made in Russia. So half of that million tons gets exported to the Western world. So they use 500,000 in China, 500,000 gets exported. All the players, US, the North America's about 160,000, EU 170,000, no suppliers. Japan 50,000, Middle East 40 to 50,000. So all of a
So,
sudden you've got no one supplying.
so the demand is there,
Oh,
David. What's the price outlook?
prices is stable because of what the Chinese do. And they don't, like they do in most critical minerals, they can move the price around as much as they
Mm.
want to. And that's part and parcel of the Exxon deal. The US is very, remembers well, probably 10 years ago when they used to have some of this manufacturing capacity in the States. In Canada, they had the biggest company called Norsk Hydro, big international company, had a 60,000 tonner at Bécancour. It got pushed out of business by the Chinese because they just dropped the price. So they went into a pricing war. So part and parcel of the deal with the US and what they're looking at is, okay, they can't drop the price or they will support the price. So this whole idea of floor price, protecting the Western production, is very much in demand.
Can you outline for us, David, what your patented process does in simple terms, if you can?
Yeah, I mean, basically, fly ash is made up of about five elements, major five elements, and what we do is we have you call it a hydromet process. It's not with water, but it's a liquid process. We use hydrochloric acid, and effectively that dissolves all these elements. Then we have different parts of the front of the plant where we extract those elements. So we're using well-worn, if you like, extractive processes from the mining industry, but they're put together in this way to extract what's in the fly ash. And therefore, we take that through. We make four products that come out of that, and they're all valuable, saleable products. And then we make a mag oxide out of the back of that, which is then put into the smelter part, the furnace side. And the residue from the furnace, we actually make a type of Portland cement. We call it SCM in the cement business, supplementary cementatious material, but effectively it works like a shotcrete. So it's the top end of the Portland's cement range. So we don't have nothing goes to waste. So that's one other thing that everyone likes, because in China, for example, they'll process 10 tons of material, they'll make 1 ton of magnesium and 9 tons of waste. So, and use a lot of energy and emit a lot of CO2. So we're very low in CO2. We'll be the lowest emitter in the world. And that's because we just use gas at the moment, but we're trying to convert that into renewables.
So you've now achieved steady state production at your demonstration plant. What does this mean for the business, and what are the next steps at the plant?
We'll move through to the back end of the plant. So that's where most of our IP sits, as I mentioned, in that hydromet process.
Hmm.
Then we now move to the back of the plant, which is a process that's been around since 1941, and China uses it all the time. But what we do, of course, is automate it, mechanize it, because otherwise you would have a real issue of getting people close to an 850 degrees C to 1200 degrees C smelter furnace. And people, they lose people in China. We can't do that in the Western world. So we have an automated system to look at that material. So that's where we're going to move to next. Take about 4 months, and we'll start making the magnesium from from our MgO we produce at the front end. So it's a completely different process to what China does. And that's why we had the IP, a worldwide IP on that.
So your next major milestone, as I understand it, will be your 10,000 tonne per annum commercial plant, also in the Latrobe Valley. So when do you expect production from that plant to begin?
Well, what we're looking at is the first half of 28. And that is basically a 9 months feasibility study with Bechtel, followed by a 15-month build. So you can see it's roughly 2 years away
Mm-hmm.
from where we sit today.
And you already have an offtake agreement for magnesium metal with a US distributor.
Yep.
Who is the agreement with, if you can tell us, and how much of the metal will they be taking?
They're taking 100% of the metal, called Metal Exchange Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been around. They're a fifth generation company out of St. Louis. They have probably, I think, 6 operating aluminium plants. So they make parts for Teslas and all those sorts of other parts for other things. And about 50% of their business is in trading. So they understand the magnesium market. They represent people like Emirates Global, who are the second biggest outside China, 3.5 million tons of aluminium production. They're well known in the aluminium industry. That suits us because that gets you into that aluminium sheet and can market that we were talking about.
Yep.
We know all the die casters that do 100% of if you like, magnesium parts, because in the cars you do have 100% parts, like your steering wheels. Your steering wheel columns, your mag wheels, everything that takes a hard hit uh, in the cars
Mm.
has traditionally been 100.
Depends how you drive.
Hey,
It depends how you drive.
yeah, it depends which potholes you go through too.
Exactly.
How the state of the roads are looking, but
Yes.
that's what's good for mag, because it's as I said, 3 times stronger, weight lightweight. So you just think of anything like that, and that's where it can be used. It can be used in a lot of other. That's just standard products. There's a lot of other interesting products. So you talk about little things like your ultralight computers. You used to drop an ultralight computer and just about shatter. Doesn't do it today because all the Japanese ones are made of magnesium sheet, and it helps protect it. It dampens the effect of so you don't break the screen. All those sorts of things. You use it in things like when you do your wrists, when you break your wrist, and you've got to have splints put into your wrist.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and usually that, then requires another operation to take them out of the splints, 'cause it's in
Right.
the wrist, whereas you can put magnesium splints in, and this is what they do offshore, and, it will decompose in your body. It's a bit like, why do I take magnesium pills and all that sort of stuff? It's good for the body. You'll come back and you'll find that the bones are healed, bigger, stronger, and stronger.
No, good.
So, there's a lot of other little uses.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you don't have to delve into that, to move forward just in the main markets.
Now tell me about this mega plant, this 100,000 ton so-called mega plant.
Yeah.
What are the plans for that? And how's that progressing?
They're going well, a bit slow, but going well. We have a, 140 hectare, um, plot in Sarawak in Malaysia. We went to Sarawak. We did a comparison between Sarawak and Middle East, and that was really looking at renewables. So, because Sarawak is on the Sarawak River, you use hydropower. So all of a sudden, if you're going to use power, it'll drop those CO2 issues from most basically your material itself, and makes it more saleable product, a better saleable product, because all the car businesses want to know about low CO2 emissions in their products they take in. So that's why we went, and we had Bechtel do a pre-feasibility study on which one they thought was the best location, and they picked Sarawak. So we have got an allocation of energy, so megawatts from 250 megawatts from the new hydropower station that they're building, which is only 1250. So we've got a big slab of that requirement that's been allocated to us. So we have that allowance, which is a big plus. We have, uh, as I mentioned, the land that's been awarded to us, and that effectively has the capacity to have a conveyor belt from the project, from the plant directly on board, because we move 2.5 million tons in and out in that plant, 100,000 tons. So you've got to have very good logistics facilities. Labor's cheap, electricity is cheap when you compare it to Australia, very cheap compared to Australia, and that's it's a very profitable project, if you like.
Now, I mentioned earlier you received a letter of support from the US Export Import Bank. I'm very keen to find out more about that. How did that come about, David? And are talks progressing to cement that support?
Yeah, we're very close with the Exim people. We were talking to them previously, and then the government put on a 17 odd delegation in critical minerals, from everyone from the big boys, the 4 billion type plus players up down to a few smaller guys like us. And what they saw in us was very simple. They saw us as a magnesium, um, the capable of supplying magnesium in 2026, in 2028, and then even more so once with the 100,000 tonne gets up 29, 30. Most magnesium plants, if you're talking about the size of that 100,000, which will be the biggest in the Western world ever, um, it'll take you at least 5 years to do it. We can do it a bit quicker because of as we've moved up from our 1,000 to 10,000 ton plant. So Exxon and the US government love that. They saw us as a solution because they have been backing one or two people that they question whether that'll come off.
Mm.
But they also know that they're not going to get up before 2030, and they need a solution now. I mean, they're running out of bunker bombs and running out of ammunitions and everything else. So, they need the
Got their
magnesium
handful. Yes.
there. They need it now. Yes, we can only give them 1,000 tons in 26, but at least it's something.
You also received a letter of support from Export Finance Australia, EFA.
Yep.
So what does that actually mean? And are you receiving any support from the Australian government and even the Australian Embassy in Washington? What does the halo effect look like from politicians both here and overseas?
There's been a big change, I think, in Australia in the critical mineral space. There's been a lot of talk for a number of years, but they're actually moving that ahead now. And that's predominantly because when Albo signed the agreement with Trump back on the 20th of October when he visited. And what we've seen is people like the Critical Minerals Office, working hard to get different projects up. Their office themselves grew from three women that now are probably closer to 12 people, and they're all fairly senior people that all report to the Minister for Resources. I had a meeting with the Minister for Resources and the Critical Minerals Office the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and they're all very keen to get behind the joint venture with the US, or a late partnership with the US, I suppose is a better way to say it. But there is actually things happening now and money getting moved around and some deals done versus, as I said previously, a lot of talk about critical minerals, a lot of talk about doing things, but nothing. Well, we didn't really see anything on the ground, if you like.
Well, we will be tracking your journey with great interest. David Paterson, CEO of Latrobe Magnesium. Thank you for joining me on the Unicorns this afternoon, and best of luck with the business in 2026. I thank you.
Thanks, Justin.